Now, look, we've had thus far 3 meetings with the African National Congress, and then we had our last meeting on Friday, this past Friday, here in Johannesburg to outline just what we think should happen. So our concrete proposal is that we should constitute a government with the African National Congress and other progressive forces that have got common and similar values. And we specifically isolated the issue of the Freedom Charter, that must be the common agenda and program that should guide such a government, one. But two, there must be clear commitment to the redress question as is contained in Section 9, subsection 2 of South Africa's Constitution, which says that a parliament has got the obligation to pass laws and legislation that should redress the imbalances of the past, with particular emphasis on the historically disadvantaged people, which in South Africa is the black majority and Africans in particular. And then we then also say that such a government should be defined by progressive internationalism, meaning that we should openly and progressively associate with the Global South and continue to participate in BRICS and other platforms that will then enhance and harness the Global South's agenda, instead of cooperation and collaboration with the imperialist, the neo-colonial world which has been dominating society for centuries now. So that is basically the agenda which we had set, that should constitute a government with the African National Congress. And then of course what we explicitly and clearly stated was that we are not going to be part of the signatory to the document which was publicly first issued with the signatures of the Democratic Alliance Federal Chairperson Helen Zille and the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Fikile Mbalula. We said we can't be signatory to such a document. We are instead proposing clear values that should define a government of progressive forces which we can participate in. And such a government should purposefully and intently isolate formations that do not want to deal with the redress question.
Okay, we'll get to the content. We'll get to the content of that in just a moment. But what I want to find out from you is that, you know, the EFF has traditionally and historically been a fierce critic of the ANC. I mean, you've traditionally taken a hardline stance against the ANC. But in recent months, it appears that your stance has softened. I mean, just going through Marshall Dlamini's letter to the ANC, I could pick that the EFF is now softening the stance towards the ANC. What triggers the change of mind? Is it because of the electoral misfortunes and the fact that, you know, voting did not go your way in Parliament?
No, I don't think that is the case. By the way, so every time we have discussions and agreements with the African National Congress at whatever level, we do agree with issues of common interest. We're talking now that for more than 18 months now, we have been participating in the same government with the African National Congress here in the city of Johannesburg, in the city of Ekurhuleni, in Nelson Mandela Bay. We have been participating with the African National Congress in the government of eThekwini, in Mapumulo Municipality, in Motsemaholo, here in the Free State. So then that has been based through proper and matured political discussions. And to the contrary, we have never participated in the same government with the Democratic Alliance. Even in instances where we could have voted for the DA and other opposition parties to constitute government, we have never shared government or participation with the Democratic Alliance. But with the African National Congress, we have always done that because we understand and appreciate that we at the core, we constitute a common historical mission.
But you've worked with the DA in the various coalitions, and you've also worked in you've had an informal partnership with the DA in the Tshwane councils.
No, we have never had any co-participation or co-governance with the Democratic Alliance anywhere in South Africa since the formation of the EFF. So there's never been such an instance. There's never been a situation where EFF members sit in the same executive of a government in South Africa with the Democratic Alliance, and we will never do that. And that is the principle that we have always carried consistently. So that is basically what, and of course, there are instances and situations where when there was just unreasonable and unsound disagreements from the ANC in terms of the policy proposals that we will give, we will then take a decision that instead of voting for ANC government, let us vote for opposition parties, whichever is available to constitute government. We did so in KwaZulu-Natal, where we had voted for in the IFP. In Metsimahulu, we voted for Forum for Service Delivery. In Tabazimbi, we voted for Tabazimbi Residents Association and different other formations. So whoever could constitute government would vote for them. But whenever there is a political agreement with the African National Congress, we have always constituted government and participated in the government where the ANC is present. And that is what is applicable in the areas that we have mentioned. And that is the point that we raised with the African National Congress, that despite the different ideological dispositions currently, but foundationally, there are certain aspects that we share a common view, but also we share a constituency. We have an obligation ourselves, the ANC, Umkhonto is a party, and other progressive formations to respond to the interest of our people. But you have got political organizations which are about the advancement of white privilege and white supremacy in South Africa, and they unashamedly do so. And those are the parties that we say should be isolated in a government of South Africa.
Now, Floyd, let's discuss the content of your proposition in granular detail. I mean, you say that you want to work with the ANC, but on condition that they walk away from their partnership with the DA and the EFF+. I mean, which other party do you want to see in the government of national unity, considering that the ANC and the EFF combined do not meet the 50+1 threshold?
Look, we are proposing that we should constitute government with the African National Congress based on certain principles. We have isolated those, that's Freedom Charter, progressive internationalism, and a commitment to redress of the imbalances of the past. And whoever agrees and associates with that should come into the party. So, and of course, there are so many other political parties which are willing to associate with that. But there are also those that are just coming because they just want to be government without any base principles. But we're 100% sure that of the political parties that associate historically with the liberation movement and liberation politics in South Africa, we will be able to constitute a stable government here in South Africa. What we were trying to, and actually I emphasize, we're not even trying to, what we're trying to do is to prevent, and intently so, a coalition between the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, because such is going to be disaster. It's going to totally swallow the African National Congress into perpetuation of white supremacy and white agenda, which has been dominant even after the end of apartheid. And that is what we're preventing, because we know just what the Democratic Alliance and Freedom Front Plus represent in the political discourse of South Africa.
And you've always said that you are not desperate for positions.
Yes.
And the fact that now you want to get into a government of national